All right, before I begin, I want to make something perfectly clear. I really don't care if you all believe me. I am not looking, to have a following. What I'm interested in is personal freedom, the freedom of the mind. And to tell you the truth, to have a following, to build a cult, whatever you want to call it, again, I don't really care. It's actually binding. It's going to keep me from the goal that I want, which is freedom, self-mastery. So, before I get into this, I want to talk about what the occult is and what the spiritual path is. And if you look in description, or actually, I'm going to put some of it in this description, but if you look on the channel description, I'm going to put all of my quote, academic credentials. So you all can be thoroughly impressed with everything that I know. The calculating aspect of the mind loves that. Although the stuff that I talk about, the wisdom aspect of your mind will enjoy it. They'll say, there's a ring of truth to this. But again, the beginning of the occult is this. It's self-mastery. That's really what it's all about. And it doesn't matter what path you take. You can take the right-hand path. You can take the left-hand path. You can do Satanism. You can do Christianity. It doesn't matter. If you wish to follow the path of self-mastery, they all lead to the same place. This is the first point that I want to make to you. Okay, so let's start with, what is the occult? When people say the occult, images of the mind, remember, words are actually symbols that we translate within our own mind. Unfortunately, words are also symbols that can be attached to other words, which can deform what it actually means. So, in other words, if I say a tree, the image that comes to mind immediately may be a beautiful green tree, or it may be a winter tree. Every person's a little bit different. But now, all I have to do, because remember, the word tree is a symbol. But now, let's say I want to change your imagination. I want to change your picture of a tree. Well, I'm going to say, well, the tree was burnt down at one time. Now the image in your mind is a blackened tree with some limbs burnt off, etc. So I'm able to adjust your imagination. We view the whole world the same way. So the occult, again, images of rituals, sacrifices, evil deeds being done, people doing evil spells, etc. Well, to tell you the truth, if you start to get into a group that's all into spells, etc., well, you're going down the wrong path because you're not going to get anywhere. Changing reality about us is part of the occult. But doing spells, etc., that's really not part of it because it just doesn't work without self-mastery. So what is the occult? The occult translates to hidden knowledge. Kind of fascinating that they call it that, since pretty much everything that we need to know on the nature of the mind and the nature of reality is already around in front of us. We see it every single day. We just can't see it because of our own beliefs being in the way. We can only see through the lenses of what we believe, even though something contrary may be right in front of our faces. It's a common practice. It happens a lot. Talk to any psychologist. You can even see, let's say, your wife kissing somebody, but because you want to believe that she's faithful, all she has to say to you is, oh no, that was a long-lost brother, or whatever. You get the point. She can come up with an excuse, or a husband. And let's not be sexist here. But because of the fact that you want to believe that your mate is faithful, it goes against your paradigm, against your belief structure. You're not actually going to see what's right in front of your face, even though she may be, or he may be blatantly flirting in front of you. They'll say, oh, no, I was just being, you get what I'm saying. All of you can relate to it. It's happened to every one of us. So the occult means the hidden. What it really means is explanations of things that are already in front of us that you cannot see. It's a process of moving our belief structures aside to be able to see what's already there. There's a saying in the occult, we already know everything, we just can't see it. Which is why, as a teenager, erroneously and correctly, we know that we know everything, because we do. It's just that we can't see it. As you get older, more and more layers of belief go over the mind, making it harder and harder to see the truth. That's basically what the occult is an explanation of things that are already in front of us. And a lot of these explanations, they keep hidden because people are not ready to hear it. It'll blow their mind. It'll shut off their mind. It'll keep them from progressing along the path. So that's the first thing that I want to bring up when I say the occult. Again, I don't mean a cult of, let's take the Kool-Aid, etc. The occult, and what it really means, which is showing what is hidden, or keeping explanations hidden might be another good way to put it. Now, I'm going to start with, so now you may ask yourself, how in the heck can somebody who's, let's say, doing Satanist rituals that want to summon demons to take over the world and a Christian have in common that they're both going to end up in the same place? Because you're taught opposite that. They're not going to. Well, when it comes to the occult, yes, they will. And I'm going to explain to you why. And I'm going to actually explain how the path fits in. You have to understand, if you're going to become a Satanist and you actually want to be able to summon demons, whether you can or can't is irrelevant. But to have the mastery to be able to do the things that you want to do as a Satanist, you're going to have to learn about the nature of the mind and the nature of reality. It's the same thing for a Christian. If he wants to connect with God and become one with God, well, he's going to have to know himself first. In fact, there's a lot of proverbs in the Bible that talk about that. It's the same thing with the Satanist. If he wants to connect to Satan, he's going to need to be able to have self-mastery. So they're both actually, in reality, moving towards the same direction, just from different points of the beginning. Because once you gain self-mastery, you're going to come to a point that those things that caused you to begin to learn the occult, and I'm sorry, I'm going to have to tell you, Christianity is a cult. There is an occult aspect to it. There's a whole tier, like levels and levels of dungeons, and the Vatican full of occult knowledge that they use, and they've been using for thousands of years. But once you get to a certain point of your self-mastery, those things just don't become important. What becomes important is to be able to understand. It's the process of alchemy itself, the understanding of your own mind, the understanding of how, in reality, everything that we want is around us already. In fact, you'll even understand why The Secret doesn't work for most people. The Secret, by the way, the concepts behind The Secret are perfect. They're good. They're correct. But there's a reason why people can't do it. And you learn why they can't do it. I know why. In fact, I might even talk about it someday. But let me talk about the path and explain what it is, and that'll make it clearer to you. When people say the spiritual path, and again, spiritual path can be evil too. I mean, I don't judge. You know why? Because I was told not to judge. The more I judge, the more illusions I put in front of my mind. People should be able to do whatever they want to do as long as they're not hurting anybody else. When people hear the concept of the word the path, there's, again, words are symbols. There's a symbol that comes up in your mind, and that's your concept of what you believe the path to be. Whether that path is that or not could be two separate things. The point of the matter is, that's your paradigm, that's your belief structure. That's what's conjured up in your mind. I want you to think of the path in a different way. Think of the path as a canyon, okay? And the reason I need to go into this is because my first live stream, which hopefully I'll probably do tomorrow, or I don't know, I might even do it later today. But my first live stream is going to be on what's called the 10 Bulls. It's a Taoist philosophy, there's 10 bulls to it, and it explains the spiritual path. And along with explaining each one of the bulls, I'm going to be able to also talk about the occult and how it applies to other different aspects of, say Freemasonry, if you're into Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, Wiccan, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's still the same concepts and principles. People say the same thing, but they're saying it from a different direction. Do you see what I'm saying? They're using different words, but are trying to explain the exact same thing, but coming again from a different direction, which makes it appear as if it's a different path. So you need to look at the path as like a canyon, okay? And in that canyon, it's full of trees. So you cannot see far enough to know that you're in a canyon. But the cool part about a canyon is this, is that if you follow the trees long enough, you're going to come out of it, correct? All you have to get out of a canyon is intent. And it's the same with the spiritual path. The spiritual path is about intent. intending to move along that path. How you move along that path will probably be totally different than what you believe it is. In fact, I'm going to guarantee you, what you believe about the path is probably incorrect. So you have to have the intent to move along the path. Once you do that, you begin to make progress. Now, there may be 100 different paths that go through that canyon, okay? It doesn't matter which one that you take because the canyon comes together more and more towards the end. Again, this is where everybody comes together with the same realizations. And that's the importance of internal alchemy, is realizations. Okay, now I'm going to encourage you not to dismiss everything I said outright. Take some time to meditate about it. It's the only way, to think about it. Let your mind wander around the concepts of what I'm talking about. And see if you don't actually start to begin to see areas where I'm correct, where you'll go, oh, really? And what I'm going to try to do is keep these lessons that I'm going to do, like this one's going to be a lesson, down to around 10 to 12 minutes. And then during that same day, probably several hours later, what I'll do is I'll have a live stream to discuss those aspects of what I talked about in that particular video for that day. I think it's a good way to do it. Again, guys, I don't mind teaching y'all what I know. I just say keep an open mind. I'm going to probably say a lot of things that you're going to go, oh my God, where did he get that from? But you know what? I can actually, this is why I want to do the live stream. I can actually explain and give you examples of why what I'm saying is true and why what I'm saying is correct. But again, if you're looking to throw fireballs out of your fingertips, it ain't happening. But if you're looking to know who you are and be able to connect to other people, and yes, telepathy, there's other extrasensory perception stuff that goes on that you'll get, that comes with it. And yes, you can change your reality around you. Again, but that's later in the path. It's true. Those are true. They're quite true. That can happen. But again, if you're going to plan on summoning demons, go out and do your bidding. That will depend on your concept of demon. But anyways, make a long story short, throwing fireballs out of your fingertips just isn't going to happen, okay? It's just not going to. So what I'm going to do is about 6 o'clock today, PST, I'll do a live stream where you all can come on and ask questions. Really, to understand the path, it really is a question-answer process. I have to get you to be able to look at, each one of us sit at a different perception. So I have to be able to adjust my explanation towards your perception for you to be able to see what it is that I'm trying to say. So again, probably about 2 hours, 6 o'clock PST, be here, be ready, I'll do a live stream.